You know, any big breakthrough, whether it's in science or art, it almost always starts with one person asking a question nobody else is asking. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. We're going to dive into the story of a man who looked at a tooth and didn't just ask, "How do I fix this?" He asked, "Wait a second, how did nature build this thing so perfectly to begin with?" All right, so let's just jump right into the core idea here. This quote, quality is not necessarily perfection, it's passion and love. I mean, think about that for a second. That one sentence just flips the script on everything, right? It's saying that maybe, just maybe, the best work isn't about being flawless. It's about the passion, the heart you pour into it. And the man who said that, Dr. Pascal Magne, well, his entire life's work is built on that very foundation. So, who is this guy? Who is Dr. Pascal Magne? And what in the world makes his way of doing things so different? Well, it turns out, to really get the revolution he started in his field, you've got to understand the man himself first. And this is where it gets really interesting. See, Dr. Magne doesn't really see himself as some kind of lone genius who came up with all this. He actually calls himself a messenger. He truly believes his path was shaped by his faith, his family, and, get this, a series of what he calls miracles. I mean, that's a perspective that changes everything, doesn't it? It turns a career from just a job into a real calling. And this whole idea of a guided path, it really starts to make sense when you look at some of the key moments in his life. For him, these weren't just random, disconnected events. Nope. He saw them as signposts, each one pointing him exactly where he needed to go. I mean, it's a pretty incredible story. It starts from the moment he was born, literally fighting for his life. Then, fast forward a bit, as a young guy, he gets into this horrible car accident and walks away completely unharmed, not a scratch. That moment just solidified his faith. And then in his career, it's like the right people just showed up at the perfect time. His mentor, Professor Belser in Geneva, then this amazing research opportunity in Minnesota that laid the groundwork for everything. To him, every single one of these steps was another miracle, just clearing the path for him. So you see, all these things, the fight for his life, that crazy accident, finding the right mentors, they weren't random at all. It was like they were all pointing to one single powerful idea, a completely new way of thinking for his entire field. And honestly, it's a lesson for all of us, an idea that we now call biomimetic dentistry. Okay, let's break this down. Biomimetic dentistry. I know, it sounds super complicated, right? But the idea behind it is actually beautiful and simple. Bio means life, mimetic means to copy or imitate. So all it is dentistry that imitates life. It's about looking at a natural tooth and just falling in love with its design, realizing that nature already perfected it. So why try to reinvent the wheel? The goal is to copy that perfect design, not just patch it up. And here's the absolute game changer. The core principle is less is more. I mean, for years and years, the standard practice in dentistry was often to drill away perfectly healthy parts of a tooth just to make a crown or filling fit. Biomimetic dentistry, it just completely flips that on its head. The golden rule is to be as conservative as possible. You only take away what's actually diseased. You save every last bit of the healthy natural tooth. It's just common sense when you think about it. And this is just such a great way to see how it works in practice. A natural tooth, it's a little masterpiece of engineering, right? You've got the enamel on the outside. It's super hard, but kind of brittle, like glass. Then on the inside, you've got the dentin, which is softer, more flexible. It's like a shock absorber. So what Dr. Magne calls the dental trinity is basically rebuilding that structure. You use a hard material like porcelain to mimic the enamel. Then you use a more flexible composite material to act like that shock-absorbing dentin. But the real magic, the secret sauce, is the bonding agent that fuses them together, just like in a real tooth. So you're not just plugging a hole anymore. You're actually rebuilding the tooth from the inside out, exactly the way nature intended. Now, it's super important to know that this whole revolution, it wasn't a one-man show. Not at all. A massive piece of this puzzle is the incredible partnership Pascal had with his older brother, Michel, who just so happens to be a world-class dental technician. You could not have designed a more perfect partnership. It was like the ultimate left brain, right brain team-up. Pascal was the scientist, analytical, by the book. Michel was the artist, creative, intuitive. But here's the cool part. Over 25 years of working side by side, they started to blend. Pascal started thinking more like an artist, and Michel started thinking more like a scientist. They met right in the middle, and that synergy, man, it took their work to a whole other level. The real irony here, and it's something Dr. Magne himself calls a tragedy, is that because of some university rules, he and his brother can't officially work together on cases anymore. But true to his philosophy, he sees every challenge as an opportunity. This setback actually forced him to innovate in new ways, figuring out how to apply those same principles they developed together using new technologies like CAD/CAM systems. So now a huge part of Dr. Magne's mission isn't just about doing this work himself. It's about teaching it. It's about making sure this philosophy gets passed on to the next generation of dentists. It's all about passing that torch. And of course, his teaching method is just as unique as his dentistry. He calls it his 2D, 3D, 4D approach. It's brilliant. First, in 2D, his students have to learn to really see the tooth by drawing it. That hones their perception. Then they move up to 3D, where they sculpt teeth out of wax, which he just calls 3D drawing. And finally, they get to 4D, the fourth dimension. That's layering. That's when they start to understand the deep internal anatomy, the life inside the tooth. It's this amazing way of building an intuitive feel for it right from the very beginning. You can tell he takes mentorship so seriously. He actually calls a mentor a professional parent. And just like any proud parent, he says his greatest joy is watching his dental children, his students, go on to become leaders and teachers themselves. Seeing them carry that torch forward, that's the real win for him. And all of this kind of brings us full circle, right back to where we began. Back to those core ideas that drive everything he does, not just in his work, but in his whole life. Passion, love, and a really unique way of looking at failure. See, for Dr. Magne, failure isn't the enemy. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's just part of the process. Yeah, of course it hurts your ego. Nobody likes to fail. But he says the key is what you do next. You have to be able to step back and ask, okay, what went wrong here, and what can I learn from it? And when you do that, failure stops being this terrible thing and becomes an incredible opportunity to get better. And he even connects this back to his faith. He points out that the original Hebrew word we translate as sin, it literally just means to miss the mark, like an archer who misses the bullseye. So it's not about being a bad person. It's just about being human and being imperfect. We're all going to miss the mark sometimes. The point isn't to be perfect and never fail. The point is to learn from your misses and aim a little better the next time you draw the bow. So that really leaves us with a big question to think about, not just in dentistry, but in everything we do. We spend so much of our lives chasing this idea of perfection, right? This flawless standard that's basically impossible to reach. But what if Dr. Magne has it right? What if the real measure of our work, of a life well lived, isn't about being perfect? What if it's about the passion and the love that we pour into trying,